welcome you to the American Black Journal watch party for Detroit We Dey. How are you feeling after seeing this again?
Of course, being the director, I've seen this film in so many different iterations. And so to get to this point, to share it out in the world, it's both like the warm fuzzies and also the nervousness of people seeing it, because it's coming from the heart.
Deeply nostalgic. When I look at those clips and those pictures, they take me to very specific times in my life, very specific events. I can look at clips of some of those parties and remember, like, my family came maybe like 10 minutes later. So I'm like, to be able to see us so deeply connected, looking at these like throwback clips. Also, I'm curious about what didn't make the cut.
Being Nigerian and being a Detroiter and like having that story encapsulated like so artistically, and like, yeah, seeing people that I recognize from church growing up, like, it's just really beautiful.
Loyalty is probably the one word that I think of right now. Folks have asked me, why are you raising your family in Detroit? And if you understood how I feel about my family, how I feel about the Nigerians in Detroit, how I feel about the Nigerians in Michigan, how I feel about the Detroit story, as we get to have at least a small part of it, I can't see anything more meaningful than trying to connect back to what's giving you so much. So loyal. I feel that this exemplifies why are we loyal to this place and why are we loyal to each other.
I really want to talk about specifically, this was mentioned in the film, the isolation of immigration, right? And the origination of the Old Bende Association. Ozi, first of all, that line was so powerful, the isolation of immigration. I mean, I think you made so many people feel seen just by that line, but also connect that and thread that to this unction to start something, to build community so that we're no longer in isolation.
I think with this group, what I've learned, and with many of the other Nigerian social organizations in Michigan, is that you see someone who is from your area, you see your brother, you see your sister, and so that feeling of wanting to gather, and so people become family who you probably would have never met because, you know, the town is big, so maybe they would have resided on one side of the town, and you know, it only for this circumstance of having to leave home and coming to the conclusion that you're going to stay in this new place, then you come together and create community, and it makes everyone feel less alone, or at least that they have family, even if they're not blood.
Some of my earliest memories were that realization that I had to navigate two different cultures out in the world and at home. I've always felt like a Detroiter, I've always felt like a Black person who is Nigerian. And I never saw those things as separate. When I was in school very young and we were learning about the slave trade, it was just very clear to me that we are all connected, related, you know, together. Sometimes there are, you know, cultural values butt heads, you know, being young and like American or Americanized was something that I felt like wasn't always celebrated in my household, because my parents, they wanted us to speak the language. They wanted us to, you know, be deeply invested in and like carry on the legacy of the culture that their ancestors had instilled in them.
I did, as I got older, understand there was an insecurity, I think, at the base of a lot of the Nigerians that are here. This idea that you may lose what it is that you came here with. And then I think the feeling of, if I don't pass this culture on to my children, what is it that I'm actually doing in this country? Is it this loss of connection that will never be brought back? Or is there a sense that I can do something, I can bring to bear an identity that, that melts into, the external that I can't control. I can't control that my children go to school in DPS. What I can do is what my father does, educate us as to what is the African-American struggle? What is the African-American struggle distinct from the Nigerian struggle?
As the elders pass on, there's a Senegalese proverb that says, when an elder passes, a library has burned, right? So what is the job of the griot? What is the job of the citizen right? To make sure that culture is not only preserved, but it's preserved through documentation, video, voice, photo.
There's this Igbo proverb, and it roughly translates into English that don't let me be forgotten, right? And so the importance of not only the archives and, you know, digitizing archives and making it accessible to the community, but it's also telling stories, you know, building intergenerational conversations. An actual community is intergenerational, right? So it is sharing the story. It's you know, passing on the recipes, you know, all of these things. It is truly being in community with each other, and that this ability to share.
Naming is very, very important to me. If you know anything about Nigerian cultures, there's so much in a name. My grandfather's first name was Owenu, and he wanted everybody who came across him to know his name through his children. So he made it his last name. I have a daughter. My daughter has a Nigerian name. Being able to pass those names on and being able to have a story to go along with it. And I feel like that's a very good way to have the conversation and be able to be intentional about passing culture down.
As an artist and vocalist and storyteller generally, I think, you know, like Nina Simone said, it's our responsibility to reflect the times. And I think that, you know, in order to accurately reflect the times, you have to have a certain level of commitment to understanding the legacy of the people who made it possible for you to be here, and also, you know, the people who are in your artistic lineage.
I think it's not just the Nigerian story or the American story or the Black American story. I think any one of us, you know, where you come from, it's important to be intentional about what you think should be happening next. It's on your shoulders. You have a responsibility. And if you take it passively, those will be the results you live with. And what I would like for us to do, if you're in the arts, if you're in education, if you're in business, is to remember that a story needs to be told in your life about how you got to this point. However you go about telling that story, that's on you.
Detroit We Dey is also streaming on PBS. And to find out more about today's guests and about the films that are part of the Homegrown Future Visions, you can go to AmericanBlackJournal.org. Plus, you can connect with us anytime on Facebook and Twitter. We thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Homegrown Future Visions is a co-production of Firelight Media and the Center for Asian American Media, with funding provided by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people, in association with PBS. Support for this program is also provided by